Hi there everyone, welcome back to another perfect pairing with me. Get ready to elevate your craft room with the most anticipated arrival of the year, Altenew's stunning shimmer relief pastes. To unlock the full potential of these amazing pastes, I'm sharing my top 3 must-know techniques that will transform the way you create. Let's dive in and discover the secrets to unlocking vibrant, shimmery masterpieces. Before we get into today's project, make sure you subscribe to the Altenew channel for more card making and paper crafting tutorials. My Perfect Pairings with JC series explores crafting techniques that effortlessly blend sure-to-love new releases and well-loved Altenew favorites. If you love these kinds of crafty tutorials, hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of my videos airing on the 2nd and 4th Sunday. These luxurious textures and shimmery colors are about to take your projects to the next level. There are 7 colors in this inaugural release: Pearl, Antique Silver, Brushed Pyrite, Burnished Platinum, Smoky Quartz, Enchanted Gold, and Rose Gold. What I love about these pastes is that they have the shine of a glitter paste, the texture of an embossing paste, yet its formula is smooth so that every detail of the stenciled image is captured without gaps. I love that the shimmer relief pastes also dry quickly, so I don't have too long of a pause when I'm in the crafting zone. So let's get started with our first card project. I'm using my Altenew 9x12 sticky mat grid to hold my cardstock. This is Berrylicious Crafty Necessities cardstock. Before I apply any shimmer relief paste to this card panel, I'm going to ink blend through the stencil first. This is Acai Berry Fresh Dye ink. It's in the same color family as the Berrylicious cardstock. I'm using a large ink blending tool to apply an even layer of acai berry to the entire panel. Then once I clean off my stencil with water, I can move on to the shimmer relief paste. I'm using rose gold paste for this first project. Keeping in mind my original orientation of my squiggly lines stencil, I'll offset the image just slightly up and to the left to create an illusion of drop shadow on this card. I think it also adds another element of interest on this card instead of just throwing some paste onto a background. I'm using the mixed media palette knife set. If you don't have these knives, you'll need them for applying the shimmer relief paste. With the number 6 flat knife, I'll take a little bit of the paste at a time and stencil the shimmer relief paste through the open areas of the image. I suggest working in small doses of paste in order to capture the intricate crevices of the stencils. Also, the pressure applied is less of a scraping motion and more of a gentle burnish. You don't want the paste to leak underneath the stencil and blur the outline of the image. Any excess paste can be returned to the jar after getting an even layer of the paste through your stencil. Then immediately remove the stencil from your project and clean your stencil with soap and water. I like to take mine to my sink to keep stencils looking brand new. I love using the sticky mat grid to stencil because I find it helps keep my paper warping to a minimum, especially for full background applications like this one. I may give this panel a little warmth from a heat tool, but otherwise, by the time I was done washing my stencil, washing my work surface, and prepping other materials for this card, I find that my project is dry enough to manipulate without smearing. So let me show you how to finish this really simple drop shadow and shimmer background card. I glued and stacked the X and O from Classic Alphabet die set, and also made a sentiment banner from a stamp set you'll see at the end of this video. I centered both of those elements on top of my rose gold shimmer relief paste background. Altenew also released additional craft foam tape sizes, which range in a variety of thicknesses and widths. I have been wanting a 1/4 inch wide by 1/8 inch thick foam tape for sentiments and finer elements like this, so I'm thrilled to finally have these in my crafting stash. Then to finish this card and break up the repetitive pattern of the background, I'm adding a few gem sparkles in rhodonite. So that's a really simple look at adding a faux drop shadow to Shimmer Relief Paste for a more interesting background. I bet you have many Altenew stencils that work for this technique in your stash, so give this one a try. For my second project, we will apply the Shimmer Relief Paste in a different way. I'm starting with a panel of Starlight Crafty Necessities cardstock. And from the Altenew Secret Garden Retreat 2024, I'm using the Leafy Slendor and its coordinating stencil to illustrate this next technique. First, I'm running this panel through my die cutting machine sandwich to add this image to my colored cardstock. Then instead of applying ink through the coordinating stencil with a blending brush, I'm using my finger and a very light amount of brushed Pyrite Shimmer Relief Paste on an acrylic block to apply the paste. This way I get the beautiful shine of the Shimmer Relief Paste without too much texture, as the texture is already coming from the embossing panel. I suggest starting in light layers of paste and build as needed, because you're trying to capture the high points of the image with a gorgeous sheen. You can certainly do this without the simple coloring stencil, but I find that the stencil helps protect the background from Shimmer Relief Paste. Before I switch layers, I did give this panel a little bit of heat from a heat tool to dry the paste. Then I'll add a little bit more Shimmer Relief Paste to an acrylic block and use my finger to apply the paste to the high points of my stenciled image. Another element of interest and texture I want to add to this background is some metallic cardstock. I'm using the Fresh Flowers die set again from the Secret Garden Retreat 2024 and this branched leaf image. I cut this image from brushed gold metallic cardstock from Altenew. What's cool is that this image matches this right cluster of leaves in the Leafy Slendor 3D embossing folder. So I'll press this die cut inside the embossing folder to give this cardstock the same texture as the background. Together, I think that the sheen of the embossed background with the metallic cardstock gives this scene a little bit of depth, as if the background leaves are further behind the metallic leaves in front. Now I'll focus on my foreground elements. I assembled one of the images in the February 2025 Creative Cuts Doves in Flight die set. To mimic the texture of the dove with the background, I'm using Pearl Shimmer Relief Paste to capture the edges of each layer using the same application technique as the background. I'm using my finger to lightly dab and apply shine to the white cardstock layers to give this dove a radiant glow. Before I foam mount this dove to my background, I want to add metallic splatter fill to the open space. I'm using sterling silver from the metallic watercolor pan set to add a variety of splatter to the background. Then once the splatter dries, I'll start assembling this card by first foam mounting the brushed gold leaves to the Starlight embossed background. Then using the wider 1/2 inch and 1/8 inch thick instant dimension foam tape, I'll foam mount the pearlescent dove to my panel. I used the 1/4 inch wide instant dimension foam tape to foam mount the sentiments on top of the dove. Then I'll finish this card with Ivory pearl dots. I love this light application of Shimmer Relief Paste for the added shine without the added texture. I could totally see this being used for the craft flower layering dies after ink blending for that satin glow to flower petals and leaves. For my final card, I'm thinking of rejuvenating and adding an interesting element to my Build a Garden sets. You saw a lot of examples of this at the beginning of this video. On my Stampwheel 2.0, I'm stamping the main floral cluster from Crafter Life Projects kit Flourishing Garden onto white cardstock. If I were just ink blending, I would do so right on this panel and then die cut, but since I'm stenciling with Shimmer Relief Paste onto this panel, I'm going to die cut this black outline cluster first and center the image onto my 9x12 sticky mat grid. To maintain the color palettes of the previous cards and cardstock colors, I'm using a mix of Summer Afternoon and Pocket Full of Sunshine for my yellows, Dried Petals, and Deep Blue Seas fresh dye ink families. I used the mauves and yellows for the flowers in this image, and the blues for the foliage layers and flower centers for an interesting color palette shift in primary colors. I used mini ink blending brushes to apply the ink on stencil layers 1 through 5. Then fast forward to the very last stencil in Flourishing Garden, which is this detail layer for the flower centers and leaves. I'm using Enchanted Gold Shimmer Relief Paste to stencil this last layer for evenly distributed shine and a fancy little detail to add to your Build-A-Garden sets. In my trials, I could do this to most of all of the Build-A-Garden sets I have. Again, I showed many of them at the beginning of this video, and you might have other sets that I do not have. To make this stenciled piece into a card, I broke apart the clusters so that the entire image could comfortably fit onto my A2 card front. This is a panel of maple yellow Crafty Necessities cardstock. I foam mounted this floral grouping on top of the colored cardstock panel and added coordinating Enchanted Gold and metallic watercolor splatter. I centered a stamped sentiment on top of the Flourishing Garden Shimmer Relief Paste cluster to finish this card technique using the new Altenew Shimmer Relief Pastes. What other colors do you want to see from the Shimmer Relief Paste set? Let me know in the comments. I'm so excited for you all to try the Shimmer Relief Pastes, so make sure to check out the description box on how to get a set of your own. My series encourages you to shop your existing Altenew stash and rekindle their love with newer releases. Perfect Pairings with JC airs on the Altenew channel every second and fourth Sunday of the month. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Perfect Pairing episode with me, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!